If you do these 3 things, you level up your wrong answer journal, you level up your Socratic review method using the sheet, you engage in these reading comp drills for articulating main idea, and you also start rewriting the passages just to level up your understanding, the questions will flow a lot easier, and that's where your next 10 points are going to come from between now and the test in the next month. This is Mary, and she's looking to raise her LSAT score from a 160 to a 170 in the next month. My name is Steve Schwartz, and I've been teaching the LSAT for the past 20 years. Today, Mary's going to bring me her biggest LSAT challenges, and I'll help her address them as we look to get her her next 10 points. Where are you scoring right now, and then what's your ultimate goal score?
So I did a few, over 10 of the prep test, and I'm on between 160, 162. The goal that I was trying to reach was 170, but I found it's a little bit tough. I don't know if you remember that English is my second language, so I'm still struggling with the an RC, and I guess this is where I'm losing the most point, not with the LR.
So you're at 160, 162 or so. You're looking to hit 170. How much time do you have before test day? When are you taking it?
So I'm taking the April one, which is April 10th.
Okay, so a little less than a month between now and then. And how many hours per week are you able to put into your LSAT prep between now and then?
So I'm doing probably over 6 to 7 hours, probably 8 hours a day.
6, 7, 8 hours on a single day?
Yes.
All right, so over the course of the week, what is that breaking down to?
So if we take 2 hours away, will be 6 hours every single day that I spend it just by myself practicing, just going back through the videos if I have something. But yeah, 6 hours beside the 2 hours of the group study and the class.
Okay, so between outside of your group study and your one-on-one, it comes down to 6 hours of focused solo studying, and that's 7 days a week?
7 days a week.
7 days a week. Okay, amazing. Tell me about your LSAT study week. What are you doing over the course of the week? You're attending the classes. How often are you joining the small group classes?
So if you're talking about the group session, I'm doing it every day. And also for the study, what do they call it? The tutors, I'm doing it every single day. I don't think I have missed anything since December.
Amazing. So you're joining all the classes every single week?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. And then tell me about your solo studying. How are you spending your time there?
So I do start with a whole section of LR, and I review after that, where was the trap, what I missed. Sometimes I go back to the videos if, especially, I guess for me was the necessary was a little bit trapped. So usually I do go back to the video that they recorded and see a strategy that they use it. I guess I still have that problem. But yeah, I do a whole section of LR, and I do one section of RC every single day, and I review them after that.
When Mary told me that she's able to study for the LSAT full time and that she's willing to put in 6, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, I knew there was a massive opportunity for her to improve her score and get to her goal in the next month, because she's able to take full advantage of all the resources. She can join all the small group classes, all the study groups, all her one-on-one sessions, and on top of all of that, she's still able to take a full exam a week, review it in depth, and do some additional drills. Then, when I looked at her review sheet, I saw that she's leaving a lot of points on the table because her review is not yet detailed enough. There is some structure there, but she could do a lot more to better organize this review that she's doing to make sure that she's not missing any angle or any element of the questions. Once she implements this, I think she's going to get her 10 points from that alone. Reading comp being the weakest area as a non-native speaker, would you say that timing is more of an issue, or accuracy, or endurance, or something else maybe?
So I don't think it's about the time. It's just more of understanding sometimes the passage, what they're talking about. There are some of them, they're okay. I can just, get a complete point with the passage. But there's some of them, if I don't really understand what is the idea, what is the argument about, I get distracted. And when I, move to the answer choice, I I mess it up, literally. Sometimes I'm able to kind of eliminate 2 to 3 answer, but ending choosing the wrong one, which is, I don't really know why it's always happening with the RC, but I guess this is the most struggling. Like I'm losing about 10 points most of the time.
Okay, and you would say it's more just accuracy and understanding first and foremost?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. And talk to me specifically about your accuracy in terms of number incorrect between LR versus RC.
So LR, I guess the majority of time, just speaking 90% of the time, I'm able to knock out like 20 to 22 question right. But the RC from the other side, probably like 15, 16, barely like 16 questions.
Okay, so to frame it in the opposite way, just so we're talking about number incorrect, just because total questions vary per section. LR, if you're getting 20 to 22 correct, that means you're probably getting -3, -5 or so in logical reasoning. And then in reading comp, since it's out of about 27, that means you're getting -11, -12.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, of course, either way you look at it, reading comp is clearly the area to work on. Now talk to me about how you review mistakes.
So, first of all, I shared already the sheet. I started a little bit late on doing this. When I start, I did not follow up with the strategy of like finding the gap between the evidence and the conclusion. Like I start doing that late. So now I go back to the argument and read it one more time and see what I kind of missed or I did not pay attention to. And I, just ask myself what made me choose the wrong answer and what was the trap that I thought about it and what makes it wrong versus what makes the right question, the right answer choice. And I do sometimes write like what is the main takeaway from the question type.
Okay, good. No, you're speaking my language here. You're clearly articulating the particular points that you've got to be hitting during your review process, so you know what you need to do and you're taking the steps to do it. I do think there's some opportunity here to go even further, which is actually really exciting because that means there's untapped potential. You're looking to get 8-10 points or more in the next month or so because there is something that you could be doing but haven't gone all the way on. If you just do the thing, then you release that potential and you get the score increase. I'm pretty excited to dig into that with you. I want to get there in just a moment. Before I do, I wanted to ask just a couple more questions about your study process. We're narrowing here to reading comprehension. Of course, you're looking at different passage topics. So let's look at the reading comp tab since that's more relevant. You're dividing them up: social science, natural science, law, art, humanities. But with these categories, I'm seeing that columns A and B are pretty empty. Columns C, D, E are a bit more filled in, D and E especially. Should I take that to mean that art and humanities give you a bit more trouble because there's more of them in the sheet?
Art is the worst thing.
Okay.
Ever. Literally. Like when they talk about history, like pictures or like something happened 20,000 years ago, like no way, please. Like I guess, as I told you, the language, like the word that they use, I'm not able to, like if I read a sentence and I don't know what does it mean, it's gonna be hard to predict what they're talking about. Sometimes LR from other side, like if I did not understand a word here and there, but the main takeaway from the stimulus, like I got it 100%. Like I don't have to know every single word meaning. I get the main takeaway and I try to attack the answer, the question. But here, like if I don't know, let's say the attitude of the author, I will get the question wrong. Sometimes they use those like analogy questions, like they referring to something else or what the author kind of agree with. I was like, no way. There's no way I'm gonna answer those questions. Yeah, art is a little bit tough for me.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to know. We'll talk about the understanding the specific language versus getting the big picture versus being able to go back. But it's good that you know which topics give you more trouble than others, because that's obviously suggesting let's spend a bit more time here. Now, do you find that you're running out of time in these passages, in the art passages or the humanities passages, for example?
I spend most of the time with it. Yes. So let me tell you this. I guess I noticed that when we have the dual passages, I get those passages right even if they are in art. I'm not pretty much sure why this is happening. Like Mark, the RC tutor always tell us that like we have to read the first passage by itself and try to move to the answer choice and get back to the second one. This strategy will help me a lot. I can't remember, like I get the dual passage even if an art like a wrong question or I don't get trapped with those. But when it's just like a full passage, the language strategy they use, multiple people talking, multiple people arguing, I guess I lose the like connection between the paragraphs.
Okay. And when you're spending time on your initial read of the passage, what is your note-taking strategy, if any? You talked about how you're reading it, but are you taking notes on your scratch paper? Are you highlighting or underlining, or are you keeping it in your head?
I do underline, highlight. I guess it just sometimes if I want to confirm something, how the highlight kind of blew my eyes. I was like, that's not a good thing to do. So I start underlining. I do take notes. Let's say if I finish like a paragraph, I take a note, like I would summarize it as a one sentence or two sentences just to keep in mind like what is the main takeaway from it. And let's say the next paragraph, they're kind of disagreeing with the first paragraph or something like that, I also take notes. What I do, just like try to summarize each paragraph by like 2 sentences, which is the maximum I would do. Underlining if there's people talking, but I don't think this is helping. I lose track, I guess.
Okay, so you think that the underlining is of limited usefulness. You're taking a couple of sentences down, just jotting them down on your scratch paper. And how much time is all of this taking? I want to get a sense of if you have, say, 8 minutes and 45 seconds on average for each passage plus the questions. Out of that 9 minutes or so, how much time is going towards the read and how much time is going towards the questions?
Like I spend like 4 minutes reading. I'm a slow reader. I guess I need a little bit more time spending on reading and instead just, trying to go back and forth with the question. If you're talking about art specifically, yes, they are taking me like about 10 to 11 minutes per passage, which is like, I don't think I would have time to do the last passage completely.
Okay, so that means so you're saying that typically you're spending 4 minutes reading the passage, which means you have about 5 minutes to answer the associated 7 questions, and then art might take a bit longer than your average of 9 minutes. It might take 10 minutes, might take 11 minutes, which means that would then have to be balanced out by going a lot faster on the science or the social science passages that you're stronger on, and they're not even in this column at all, right? So is that kind of the time allocation here?
Yes.
So on the LSAT reading comp section, you're going to see 4 major topics for the passages: natural science, social science, humanities, and law. And they have a variety of topics here because they know chances are you don't like one of those particular topics. And with the one that you don't like, you risk getting bogged down and stuck. And sometimes spending more time on a passage doesn't actually even help you. You've got to focus first and foremost on getting the big picture. What's the main idea, the primary purpose, the author's opinion? If they could leave you with only one central idea, what would that idea be? Take that, run with it, knock out all the general, global, big picture questions, then circle back to the passage with specific line references to support your choice for any detail-oriented questions. Bottom line, you don't want to try to memorize the entire thing up front. Just get the big picture and then go back to the passage when you need to. That makes sure you're saving time, you're not getting bogged down, and you can ideally finish the section with time to spare. Hey guys, real quick, a lot of you have been asking me how can I be featured in one of these LSAT study breakdowns and get feedback on my LSAT study plan. The only way is to join one of my LSAT coaching programs. You can check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And now back to the show. So you mentioned that in logical reasoning, you want to look at what makes the wrong answer choice tempting, what makes it wrong, what makes the right answer choice unappealing, what makes it correct, right? So all that analysis is happening for a single logical reasoning question, right?
I think the majority of time, yes.
Yeah, so you're looking at all that, then you're also looking at the stimulus, you're also looking at the answer choice.
Yes.
Now, in this sheet, all of those different things, stimulus, answer choice, the tempting wrong answer, what makes the wrong answer wrong in the end, the right unappealing right answer, what makes that right in the end. Those 6 different things are all being combined into one section of this sheet, right? So each of these boxes, each of these cells are combining all of that analysis.
Yes, the majority of time, yeah. Like the main takeaway for the majority of question is the same. Let's say if you're asking for like flaw question, I mean, yeah, the main takeaway, try to find the gap and what something it's missing in the conclusion that like it's not mentioned in the evidence. But yeah, the majority of question include the same idea, like the wrong answer choice, the stimulus about where I get trapped, and why the right answer is right and why the wrong one is wrong. Yeah. Okay, so you're understanding all those things have to be hit. You're doing a lot of those things a lot of the time. But if we look at, for example, this PT 155 section 1 question 4, and then this necessary assumption question next to it, look at if I just look like let's say I was a caveman, I don't know written words. I know that this column B analysis is a lot bigger than the column C analysis, right? Like column C is like maybe a third of the size of what was going on in column B, right? Yeah, that's correct. I mean, my tutor already talked about it. It was like, yeah, you have to write a little bit more things.
So your tutor was telling you that you have to write a lot more than you are. And I agree it would be good to write a lot more. But rather than just saying write a lot more, I want us to get more concrete about what you need to write more of. And I think because you already, without my even saying it, you already knew the different points you want to hit. Now, I can say that, of course, you probably hit more of them in this principal question than in this necessary assumption question, just based on the length. But I'm wondering if the opportunity I see for you is if we were to structure this sheet, this journal, in a different way, such that you would have dedicated boxes for each of those points. So you had, rather than orienting this by question stem type, like you have row 1, you have flaw, principle, necessary, resolve, disagree, agree, and so on. What if instead we were to make that a column in the sheet, like we have a column for question type, a column for stimulus, a column for question stem, which is the same as question type actually, but you get my point. Then the column for tempting wrong answer, column for unappealing right answer, and so on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought about it.
I just want to make it foolproof for you, like a checklist, so that you're actually going to hit each of these points, and it will be incredibly obvious if you missed one, which one you missed, so that during your review process, you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stimulus, stem, wrong answer, right answer.
Yes, I can do that. I guess I can form this one. I don't know if I mentioned, but like this is my first time taking the LSAT, and I start really with like I did not really know anything before I joined the team. So I was like, you know what? If I did not hit the goal from the first time, I still have like 2 more chances at least to retry.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's good to know that. Of course, it's always good to keep in mind that it's not all riding on one single test date. So let's give it our all for April. Let's see if we can knock it out for you in the next month. I think there's room for you to get there, given that you're able to study full time and you haven't been going as deep on the review as you could. But once you adopt a more structured review process, you're gonna get a lot more out of your studying. So if you're looking to get 10, 12 points or so in the next month, this is the opportunity, because you already have the time. You just got to devote that time in the right areas. Now, I wanted to illustrate the concept here with logical reasoning because the questions are bite-sized, but the same will actually apply to reading comp as well. So now you look here, the paragraphs are even bigger, right? Because reading comp is larger. So you're here talking about the passage text itself, then you're talking about several different questions all in the same box. So of course, first step is let's divide your analysis of each question to give each question its own row in the sheet. You could have one section for just your analysis of the passage itself, which is 450 words. So given its length, I think it deserves its own section. And then beyond that, each individual question will also get its own dedicated area where you do the same thing as you do in logical reasoning. So question type, the wrong answer, the right answer, what made the wrong answer tempting, what makes it wrong, what makes the right answer unappealing at first, and what ultimately makes it correct.
Yeah, I can definitely start probably doing it today. I never thought about it. Probably I should start earlier, but we still have some time.
No, you have time because you've got a month where you could study for the LSAT full time. And so if you want to get the 10 points in the next month and make your first take your only take, which you can do, it's going to involve, again, leveling up the review. If you want to get 10 points, I think at least 7 of them are going to come from reading comp. The other 3 are going to come from logical reasoning, just given the proportions of where you're having trouble with each of those sections right now. How many practice tests have you taken up to this point?
So like a full preps, 12 as total.
Okay, and how many more are you planning to take over the next month?
So I do usually like once a week. So like probably 4 more or 5 probably I'll do. Besides that, I do like full section, like 2 section every single day. I don't know if this is gonna count like a full. I do on time too, sometimes time, it just depends. But yeah, like 2 every single day. Yeah, 4, I would say 4 from now to the day of the test.
Okay, so 4 from now till the test. That means, let's say, roughly 1 a week between now and then. You're then reviewing those tests in detail with your new leveled up sheet, as we've discussed. You're also taking some timed sections here and there. I'm going to give you one additional recommendation based on what you mentioned earlier around the struggles with reading comp in particular as a non-native speaker. So you mentioned difficulty just understanding the passage text, given the vocabulary, for example. I'm wondering have you ever tried as an exercise just taking the entire passage text and rewriting it in simpler language?
Like just reading it and try. I know sometimes like details won't matter, but like I guess it just depends. Like there's I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what to say. It just hard. Like sometimes it just pisses me off. Like what does that word mean? And what is that thing they're talking about? Or like if I did not understand, like let's say 2-3 sentences, and I kind of get to the second paragraph, I lose track. Like if you don't get what they're talking about there, how you're gonna understand whatever they're talking about. So everything is kind of related to each other. Like they talk about point, they kind of describe it, if they agree with it or they does not agree with it, and then they explain why. There was passages, like my understanding, it's only 10%, literally 10, and I usually skip those. Just kind of like, yeah.
As you were talking, I was smiling a little bit just because like you were saying how it pisses you off. And like, I get it. This whole exam is incredibly frustrating in a way because they're such bad writers, and they're not bad writers because they don't know how to write. They're bad writers because they're looking to disguise and mask the concepts that they're presenting. And as you said, it's layers upon layers upon layers. So if you don't get one part and everything builds off that one part, the whole thing's a lost cause. And so I'm going to recommend 2 different drills for you that I'd like you to try out. One of them is to just read some passages and articulate in your own words, what is the main idea? What is the author's opinion? If they could leave you with only one central thesis or main point, what would that be? You put that in your own words without even looking at the questions. Then, after you do that, you solve only the main idea questions associated with that passage.
Yeah, I can work on this today. Try and see how things will work.
Cool. I'm recommending this for you just because you have so much time to study that you're able to still take a timed exam a week, review it in depth, do some individual sections, join the small group classes, have your one-on-one coaching as well, and you'll still have time for creative exercises like this that might unlock some additional reading comp understanding for you. And you'll see that even though they present these concepts in a really frustrating way, the concepts themselves aren't actually that bad. They're just writing at a much higher level, a more sophisticated and convoluted style than we're typically accustomed to reading. When you rewrite the passage in simpler terms, it forces you to gain a deeper understanding of the content. If you can explain it simply, that proves you actually get it. But if you don't engage in this kind of exercise, if there's no one keeping you accountable, like a coach or a study buddy or even just your wrong answer journal, then what ends up happening is you gloss over and skip concepts that you don't truly understand because the mind is lazy. It gravitates towards what is easy. But when you structure your review process, when you engage in one of these drills, you're forcing yourself to stick with every single element of the passage, leaving no stone unturned, leaving no points on the table. You cannot afford to be lazy if you want a top score on the LSAT. Those who get 170 or above don't do so by accident. It's because they make sure they understand every sentence in the passage, every logical reasoning argument. They're not leaving anything to chance, because if you don't understand it now, you're not going to magically understand it all of a sudden on test day. The test writers are extremely lazy. They keep reusing the same concepts and the same tricks and traps over and over again because most students are going to keep falling for them. But the good news is there are thousands of released LSAT questions. There are over 400 released reading comp passages alone. And if you understood thoroughly even just a quarter of those or even just a tenth of those, that would be enough to ensure you could get a 170 or above on test day.
To be honest, I was major in political science. I read so much books, so many articles, like documents. It was not that tough. Like, I can imagine like how many article and essay I wrote and read also when it was never like that. Just like the transformation of the language, I feel like they just bring words and put them all together, just try to make a sentence. I don't know if this is the case, but when I start like studying for the test in the beginning, I was trying to also translate the passage. But even in my own language, it does not make sense. They're trapped. Like, it's not like a normal person like writing something. I feel like they just bring words somewhere here and there and they put them together and try to make a sentence. Like, even in my native language, they're still hard to kind of capture everything unless like you read it and, you know, kind of skim everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, legalese, this is like legalese, like it's a contract language. It is like yet another language where even if you know English or even if you know your native language, that doesn't mean it's easy to interpret contracts written in that language because lawyers have a very particular style. And in a sense, what they're doing is they're taking these random primary sources, whether they're scholarly journal articles or whatever, and they're turning them into contract style presentation of those concepts, but it's a lot more roundabout with very complex multi-layered sentence structures. And so if you can boil them down in this drill, so one drill I mentioned was to just take the main ideas, kind of summarizing. The second is to rewrite the entire thing in simpler language. And so if this is hypothetically written at a graduate school level, can you then reverse engineer it to get to the explain like I'm 5 version, like you could explain to a 5-year-old? Reading comp is often the biggest hurdle for non-native English speakers. I know the vocabulary on the LSAT can be overwhelming, the structure can feel confusing, but keep in mind that like anything else on the LSAT, it's a skill that you can build. It is not a test of your intelligence, and it might require a bit more work to see the patterns in terms of the structure of the passages, but you can get there in the end, same as anybody else. I often recommend trying to break down the passages into their component parts, look at it paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, word by word, redefine and simplify every single word in the entire passage, and you'll see the concepts aren't what's difficult, it's just how LSAC presents them. But with a bit more time, a bit more drills to establish that strong foundation and better understand the typical flow of a passage, you can increase your accuracy, and the speed will then come with time. Hey guys, real quick, if you're just getting started with your LSAT prep or you're looking for a quick refresher, grab your free easy LSAT cheat sheet linked below this video. I've packed it full of concrete actionable tactics you can take and apply to your LSAT prep right away for a quick score boost, and again, it's 100% free. So you can grab your copy below. Again, back to the show.
I'll start doing this strategy, see how things will work. As you said, there's still like a month, everything could change. I mean, if I increase it by even 4 points, they're better than nothing.
Oh yeah, no, even if you do any of the single individual things that we talked about today, I'm confident that could get you at least 5 points. If you combine them all together, I think you can get at least 10 points in the next month. So just to recap here, what you're going to do for your next action steps, taking full advantage of those 6 to 8 hours a day you have available to study. Number 1, level up your review process. You restructure your wrong answer journal Google Sheet to use the Socratic review method fully by laying out in logical reasoning, for example, and we'll circle back there. In logical reasoning, you'll make the question stem type just another row in the sheet, and then you're going to have separate columns for stimulus, question stem, answer choices, including 2 columns for the wrong answer, what makes it tempting, and what makes it wrong. 2 columns for the right answer, what made the right answer unappealing, and what ultimately makes it correct. Again, you're doing this both for logical reasoning and reading comp. In reading comprehension, you'll have a separate column just for the passage analysis. You'll have a column for the question type within the passage set, and then you'll do the same exact thing as you're doing in logical reasoning so that what you have all combined into a single cell or box of the sheet here is going to be separated across several different rows in the sheet based on what type of information it is. So restructuring the Google Sheet for your Socratic review, engaging in a couple of reading comp drills. Number 1, where you are taking the entire passage and rewriting it in simpler language. The second reading comp drill being read the passage and then just articulate in your own words what is the main idea, author's opinion, other global, general, big picture ideas like tone of the passage, best title of the passage, and then look for how LSAC describes it in their language.
That will make sense. I guess my last question will be, like, if you kind of get to 2 questions, and this is like, I guess when it get hard, what is the one thing that if you were me, would you do? Like, if you eliminate 3 of them and you were between something and something else, or the right answer and the wrong answer choice, what would be the best advice to look at it? Like, just in general, it does not have to be specific type of question.
Well, the thing is that it all depends on the specific type of question, right? So where I'm going to lean between 2 choices depends on the perspective that the question stem is asking me to apply. So like, what lens am I looking at them through? So for example, if you're looking at a main idea question or a tone question in reading comprehension, I'm going to gravitate towards something on the more moderate side because they are rarely extreme in their viewpoint. So for example, if a choice said that they are emphatically enthusiastic or super positive on something, it's probably not that. They're probably also not super negative on something. They might be a little bit critical or a little bit skeptical, or they might have reserved optimism, but they're not going to be at a polar extreme on one end or the other.
But there is like the main point question, I saw some of them, some of the answer choice, it's something literally has been said, like, in the passage. And even if they argue about it, to the end is not the main point. Like, sometimes it just surprised me. Like, I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is like, they're arguing about it from the beginning. Probably this is the right answer. And I choose it. I was like, no, that's not the one. I get trapped. They still have the same view, like, same wording, same idea, same process. But, I don't know. This is not the right answer for some reason.
Well, to your point there, I mean, the main idea needs to be the global main point of the entire passage, even if it was mentioned in one particular part of the passage. If it's not encompassing the whole, then even though it's technically true, it still isn't the main idea. So you want to make sure, again, proper lens for a global question versus a specific one. But my point here more is that, broadly speaking, if you're down to 2 for a tone question in reading comp, the correct answer will not be super extreme on one end of the spectrum or the other. It's going to be reserved or qualified in some way, meaning it's a little bit more moderate. And same would be true, for example, of a necessary assumption question in logical reasoning. All else being equal, you want to gravitate towards the more moderate answer choice because that's more likely to have been supported or required by the stimulus than more extreme language would be. The people who make the LSAT aren't dumb. They are extremely clever at creating tempting traps in the answer choices. They're good at making the wrong answer seem appealing, and they're great at making the right answer seem unappealing. And so when you are engaging in the Socratic review method, you want to look at not just why the right answer is right and why the wrong answer is wrong, but you also want to look at what made the right answer choice unappealing to you at first glance and what ultimately makes it correct. And for the wrong answer, you don't just want to look at what makes it wrong, you also want to look at what about it appealed to you at first, and then upon reflection, what makes it wrong. In other words, you want to look at what were the traps that you personally were prone to falling for. You then want to highlight those key insights so that later, when you go back to your wrong answer journal, you can reflect and see, okay, these are the traps I want to look out for so that I can avoid making the same mistake again. And when you structure your wrong answer journal in this way with separate columns for each of these elements of the choices, you make sure that you're not missing any key points of analysis that could serve you for your next practice test and, of course, for test day itself. Before we sign off, what would you say are the 3 biggest takeaways you got from our call today?
I have to work on my logical reasoning sheet, trying to figure out, I guess, how to organize it a little bit better. Try to, rewrite it in a simple way. As you said, like if I can explain it to 5 years old, I mean, I can really understand what they're talking about. We did not talk about time management, like for the reading comp.
Well, the thing about, time management is that accuracy first, right? So we've got to build up your foundational understanding of the passages through these drills, and then speed will come as you better develop that understanding. So we could talk down the line about allocating time between passage and questions, but first I want to make sure that you actually understand the passage text thoroughly, because once you do, the questions will come a lot easier.
Okay, I'll think about it. I mean, just the last passage, I found out like even if I'm reading it, I'm just answering 2 or 3 questions, sometimes 4. If they have like 5 questions or sometimes 6 questions, I'm not able to get to all of them. I know there's some passages they're a little bit harder than the other. It takes a little bit more time, but I guess I'm gonna try to work on all these things just from now, since I don't have anything besides studying for the LSAT.
Good. All right, well, keep at it. I'm excited to see where you take it. If you do these 3 things, you level up your wrong answer journal, you level up your Socratic review method using the sheet, as we discussed, you engage in these reading comp drills for articulating main idea, and you also start rewriting the passages just to level up your understanding, the questions will flow a lot easier, and that's where your next 10 points are going to come from between now and the test in the next month.
Hopefully. I wish.
It'll get there. You have the time, you can put it in. And of course, if you have any questions or need anything, you could always shoot me an email or a text and I'll be happy to help.
I do appreciate everything. I mean, it mean a lot to me, the whole process of the team and stuff like that. I do really appreciate it. I started with nothing now. I mean, I can see like there's a lot of progress that have been made, so I really do appreciate your team and you.
My pleasure, Mary. Reach out anytime, and in the meantime, I wish you all the best. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.
Have a nice day. Thank you.